All right, here we go. It is just a few minutes before 12, so I'm going to hold on here. Welcome to Death to the Diet, Eat Intuitively webinar. It is January 8th in 2019, and lots of people right now are on a diet, so I'm going to hold on and wait for people to pop in. We are live and we are recording and we are ready to go, I believe. So yes and yes. And we are also live on Facebook for the moment. So if you are tuning in live on Facebook, thank you very much for joining. Appreciate it. Taking some time out of your schedule. We will be running for about 45 minutes. So, if you find this interesting, please feel free to share it. Text a friend as you go along and say, hey, something's on Facebook Live. We will be taking it down from Facebook Live afterwards, but if you reach out to us at Shaping Perspectives, we'll be sure to make sure you have a way of getting it if you would like it. So lots of really great information here today. So we have another minute or so as I wait for people to pop in, and really excited to share this information with you today. We're going to be talking about the resolutions that are happening right now. This is the perfect time of year for weight loss resolution, weight loss or dieting resolutions as the new year starts. This is the year, this will be the year that I will get fit, or this is the year that I will lose weight. This is the year that I'll do things that year after year after year, I would do that same resolution. Let me try this, let me try this, let me try this. And to be honest, I always ended up either at the same place or heavier than when I started. And I'll share with you why that is as we move through the webinar today. So I'm giving it just another minute. All right, and I am going to get started here. So first of all, what I would really like to do is just say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I hope that the information that you find here is useful, and it'll maybe strike a chord with you. So I know that time is one of our most precious commodities, so I'm really grateful that you're here spending a little bit of time with me today. So thank you for that. And then a couple of other things. If during the webinar you would like to ask a question, all you have to do is there's a Q&A. It's either on the side, depends on what kind of device you're using. It's either on the side of the screen or on the bottom of the screen. There's a Q&A. Just click on the Q&A, write in your question, and I will answer it when there's a pause or when there's the ability to answer it during the webinar. There is a raise your hand feature on Zoom, but we are not going to be utilizing that particular feature today during this webinar. So take a nice deep breath, find yourself here with me and taking a step and opening up your mind and your heart to receive some different information. So what I would actually like to start with today is an activity that I'm going to have you think about in your mind. So I'm going to actually have you do this, kind of close your eyes for a minute and imagine getting to the doctors, and the doctors say, hey, it's time to get on the scale. So hop right up on the scale. And I want you to think about that for a second. And I want you to think about, how does that feel? What does that feel like? If I were to say, just jump on the scale. I'd like you to weigh yourself before you start this webinar so we kind of know where you're at before you even start. What does it feel like in your body? What does it feel like in your head, right? What words pop into your head? What feelings come up? What thoughts come up when you're asked to get on a scale and weigh yourself? It's an interesting space. I will say for myself, this space of getting on a scale has been, may always be a triggering place for me. I just don't like it, so I never weigh myself, period. Even at the doctor's. Nope, I refuse. And you have every right to do that. But what is the power of the scale has over you? And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we move through today. Because when people go on a diet, they go on a diet to lose weight, right? So that's what we're going to kind of dive into. And I want to make sure that you're in the right place. So let's take a look at that. This is for you if you're tired of riding that dieting merry-go-round or hamster wheel, whatever you want to call it, on a diet, off a diet, chronic dieter, always on a diet, kind of, or a yo-yo dieter, going on, going off, going on, going off, held prisoner by thoughts around food. If your thoughts are consumed, I think about the percentage of thoughts that are consumed with weight, food, eating, exercise, body image, calories in, calories out, all of that kind of, if your mind is consumed with that, if you don't do things, if you're missing out on experiences, activities, memories with friends because of how you look or feel in your body, if you overeat, binge eat, emotionally eat, or if you're just overwhelmed, frustrated, tired of this, and don't know where to turn because there's so much information out there, that means that you are in the right space. So I thank you for being here. If none of this describes you, then maybe this isn't for you, and that's okay too. I appreciate you popping in for the first few minutes to check it out. So you can enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thanks for popping in. But if this does describe you, I'm really glad that you're here, and let's take a look at where we're headed. So we're going to start with that scale, the thoughts and the feelings that come up from stepping on the scale. And as we do that, I want you to think about the two different thoughts that usually happen, right? So when you step on a scale, you look down and you see a number, and there's a thought. It depends, though. The thought depends on the number. So if the number makes you feel happy, like, ooh, that's a good number, I want you to link that to the behaviors that happen when you have that thought. Usually we're going to stem two different behaviors. One, yay, I can reward myself. What shall I eat? I'm doing great. Yay, everything's going good. Or, yay, I'm doing something right. I must keep restricting. I must keep going. Thus, behavior becomes, I'm going to separate this a little bit more simplistically. Behavior, eat, don't eat. Like eat, reward, don't eat, restrict. That's when we look down and go, smile. Now, let's go to the other side of the scale. Sad face. Look down. There could be a swear word or two. There could be lots of different thoughts going on in your head. And then there's two usual behaviors that stem from this. One, that's it. Done. I'm dieting tomorrow. We call this Last Supper eating. Usually eating whatever we can in the house because tomorrow we'll start the diet. You'll notice, and I just noticed it myself, so I'm going to share this out loud with you. You'll notice that I use the word we a lot. And I reference the word we because I've felt all of these things that we're going to talk about today, and I've lived it. So that's why I kind of utilize that word. So there's that's it. Last supper eating. I'm dieting tomorrow. That's it. I'm never going to have such and such again, right? Or the second piece is nothing matters. It doesn't matter what I do. I can't do anything right. So I might as well just eat. So simplified thought, that's it. Diet, restrict, not eat. Or it doesn't matter, eat. So we have two completely different thoughts. Usually they are the two thoughts that come from stepping on a scale and looking at it. And linked to that, we have two specific behaviors that are the same on both sides. Eat, don't eat. So just pause and kind of take that in for a second. So it doesn't really matter what the scale says. The behavior that stems from it is either going to be eat, don't eat. And then let's take this a step further. Okay, we're going to move forward a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. You know a little already from what I've shared. This is me at 3 years old. You can see some happy cheeks, right? My dieting history started at 10 years old. And it started at 10 years old, and I utilized this word as a seed. It was planted very subtly by a nickname that the boys in the neighborhood started to call me. And I think about the nickname now, and it was just a harmless nickname. But for me, it gave me the feeling that I wasn't enough, I wasn't good enough, I didn't look like the other girls, and that I was fat. So the fat piece started there. And then it exacerbated, or the seed was watered and strengthened with a visit to the doctor at 10 years old, where the doctor said to my mother, "You better watch what she eats." Because on those old charts, those old trajectory charts, right, I was in the high category, 95% or whatever it was. So from that moment forward, when I went home, things changed in the household for me as well. I didn't eat the same as my brother ate. He was able to eat different foods. He was able to eat different things. He was able to eat more. And so there was this separation and isolation for myself at that point in time. And then the third kind of thing that I think about creating this perfect storm was the fact that I had to shop in a different section of the store. So I couldn't shop in the regular section. It was the Husky section of Sears, if you can remember that. I was in the 70s. So that's where my story kind of starts in this disordered eating world. And then within a couple years, I was in a full-blown eating disorder, hospitalized for anorexia nervosa. Finally, I moved my way out of that and into high school and into college. In college, another trigger where I began losing weight again, restricting, severe restricting, I would say exercise compulsion or exercise bulimia, was when a soccer coach told me, what did I do? Asked me, what did I do all summer? Eat. So there was a trigger, an external trigger that created shame within me, where I started to diet and restrict again. My body never was good enough. For as long as I could remember, it was never the way I wanted it to be. I was a slave to the scale and the number on the scale. If it was down, everything was okay. If it was up, life was horrible. And it dictated how I felt about myself, and it dictated my days. I went into the exercise field. And I will tell you, for 30 years, 30 plus years, as a group exercise instructor and as a fitness professional, thinking that being there and exercising a lot, well, at least that could control my weight, right? That's at least what I thought, that it actually fed my disorder. And my weight yo-yoed up and down, probably within 25 pounds, no matter what I did, fitness-wise. Fast forward to another period of time where I relapsed again into eating disorder behavior, was during the time of external stress, was going through a divorce. So there was external stress, and my fallback mechanism was not eating or over exercising. So my disorder lasted a really long time, until at about 50 years old, I decided enough's enough. I was done with climbing this tree and moving all over this place. So I changed the way I thought about things. I just stopped. This is where I went back to school. I pulled away from the exercise field and said, there's got to be something different. As an exercise specialist, I worked with women trying to get them to lose weight and help them successfully until the next year when they came back trying to do the same thing again. So I actually removed myself from that atmosphere, went back to school, became an eating disorder specialist and intuitive eating coach. I also did a lot of work on body image and stress and self-care. And I call myself now a movement and play coach versus an exercise coach. So I changed my direction of my journey. So let's get into this space. And this is why I'm so passionate about all of this, is because of my own journey. Did you know, here are some really interesting stats. 95% of diets fail. 95%. So if you went to the doctor and said, I have a sore throat, can you give me a medication? And he gave you a medication, he goes, well, 95% of the time this doesn't work, but I want you to take it anyway. It's not going to work. So pause for a moment about that. 95% of diets fail, yet doctors just prescribe people to go on diets. 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies. 81% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. That was where I started, right at 10. 50% of women are on a diet today. Right now in the United States, 50% of women are dieting. 45 million people started a diet a week ago. 45 million. Interesting. I hope that some of them are on this, watching this today. And the dieting industry is a $70 billion a year industry. That's just dieting. If we add beauty into it, which is another whole industry of about the same, 70 billion, I think it's 80 billion, that's over 160, right? 150, 160 billion dollars spent every year telling you you aren't enough the way that you are right now. So let those kind of sink in a minute, and you'll realize that as we go through what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about what happens during the body, within the body and mind during restriction. And then we're going to talk about what we can do to really honor our body instead of attract ourselves to what society says we should do. What happens to our body during restriction? I'm going to go through these a little bit slowly so that we can kind of absorb them. Increase in cortisol levels due to stress. So when we go on a diet or we engage in a strenuous exercise program, we create stress within the body. Internal physiological stress happens because the body isn't getting what it needs, or it doesn't have the energy to output what it needs to do or what it's required to do. When there is a cortisol spike, that's a signal for the body to actually hold on to weight. So if you think back to our ancestors about feast and famine. When there was, a feast, everybody ate, they ate as much as they could, and then they would go without food for a really long period of time. So there would be a long period of time without food. That's the famine. The body set up a system where cortisol was released during that period of time so that the body could actually hold on to weight in order to survive through to the next feast. That happens as well today when we put our body through stress. So not only internal physiological stress, which would be restriction, but also external stress. And pause for a moment and think of the external stressors you might have, because this particular cortisol increase is from something that we're actually doing ourselves. We're saying, I'm going to go on a diet, which is going to cause internal physiological stress, which we can control, versus external, which we cannot control. So this cortisol level spikes. We have a hormone called ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone. When we restrict, the body is saying, hey, I need more food. And it responds with an increase in this ghrelin. So the body actually gets hungrier. Next, our fullness hormone, or the hormone that tells us, yep, I think I've had enough to eat. The signal goes to the brain, is called leptin. And our leptin hormone decreases. And there was a great study on leptin and the Biggest Loser study that came out probably about 3 years ago now, where they actually tested a whole group of Biggest Loser contestants pre-Biggest Loser, post-Biggest Loser, and then I think it was 5 years after that. When all the contestants started, they had normal levels of leptin in their body. So everything was normal. At the end of their 3-month stay at the ranch with severe restriction, they had almost no leptin at all, which means their body never told them that they were full. They were never getting that signal that they were full. 5 years post, I want to say it's 5 years, it could be 3, 5 years post, they were almost halfway, but they were not normal again. They were still hovering about 40 to 50%. And if you pause to think why that is because after they've lost all this weight, if they start to gain weight again and the leptin level starts to creep back up, which is what we want, they restrict it again. So as soon as they restricted again, the leptin levels dropped. So they never kind of regained their normal physiological footing. So it was this up and down kind of this yo-yo game. So the leptin is still not in a normal range for them, which means they're going to be hungry more. They're not going to feel full. They're going to be eating more because they're not feeling that fullness. Next, the brain responds to restriction. Before I go any further, I'm going to use my analogy on food and dieting. Like, what is a diet? Because I think that can be kind of misconstrued in people's heads. If I were to put, and I don't know if you can see me, I'm in the corner there. If I were to put all foods in the palm of my hand and remove one particular food group or particular food with the goal of losing weight, that is a diet. So I'm taking this particular food, right now gluten's the big one, right? The big evil. So I had to take gluten out because I'm going to lose weight, because everybody says you can lose weight if you remove gluten. That's a diet because we've taken something out in order to lose weight. On the other hand, pause for a second. If I were to take a food or a food group out because it does not make me feel physiologically very good, that is a choice. I am making a conscious choice to say, you know what, when I eat that particular food, I don't feel very good and I choose not to eat it, versus I am not going to eat it in order to lose weight. So there's a little difference there when it comes to this brain response. If you're removing food in order to lose weight, it means you've pulled food away. I will never eat ice cream again. I will never eat sugar again. I will never eat white flour again. The body responds with this. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? It might be good for a little while, but all of a sudden there's kind of this kick in. The author of Intuitive Eating, Elyse Resch, one of the authors, has this fabulous quote that I use a lot. Our inner drive for autonomy, what I want to do, will override our desire to lose weight. So it's that, if you think about that inner rebel, hands on hips, can't tell me what to eat. You think about a 5-year-old, right? You can't tell me what to do. It's the same kind of thing that comes up in us. Our brain obsesses about food until something happens, usually an external trigger. All of a sudden, you're eating something that was on your plan not to ever eat again. And then lastly, the body's metabolism drops. And you'll see there the Keys study. So I'm going to actually talk about the Keys study a little bit, because our metabolism drops in order to protect us. When the body goes into restriction, the body's going, okay, we're not getting enough food, so we better compensate. And so that's how the metabolism drops down. The Keys study was done in 1944, 1945. It was a fabulous study. It's called the Starvation Experiment. You can get the book. They took 40 physiological, emotionally sound young men and put them on a restricted plan for 3 months or 6 months. Can't remember. 6 months, I think. This is what happened during their 6-month stint of restriction. They actually cut their calories in half. 3 months prior, they made sure they were stable. 6 months restricted half of the energy intake or calorie intake, and then they refed. And so they wanted to see what happened physiologically and emotionally to the body. Look at the list of things. If you think about what happens with yourself when you go on a diet, you're going to see all of these different things. Decreased metabolic rate, in this particular study, up to 40%. That's crazy. Increased depression and emotional distress. They did not have any of this when they started. Increased food cravings, thinking about food all the time. Shifting in eating patterns. They were either eating really fast, couldn't wait to get it in, or they were playing with their food. Salting their food, putting more condiments on their food to change the way it tasted. Increased sensitivity to cold. They were always cold. Social withdrawal, isolation, didn't go out with friends anymore, pulled back, didn't do the things they normally did. Declined concentration and focus. Some of them had the inability to work. Preoccupation with food. They were looking at recipes when they were eating together, going through cookbooks, in the 1940s, and young men talking about food and cooking and looking at recipes. There was binge and purge behavior reported, and a reduced sexual interest. So lots of different things. And what I get so aggravated about is that if this was done in 1944, 1945, why is it that the influx of diets and restriction happened right around 1960 and has increased ever since, as has, if you think about the obesity epidemic, right? You think about the increase in diets over the past 40 years and the increase in weights over the past 40 years. They go together in a lineup. And why didn't we take a look at this research prior to having doctors start prescribing restriction and dieting? Next, let me talk about the restrict and binge cycle. So it's New Year's Day and you're starting your diet, restriction diet. So it starts, and it can start prior with this pursuit of the thin ideal, or this movement of I don't feel good in my body, or I don't look the way I should look, or somebody's told you you should lose weight. It could be a doctor, it could be a friend, it could be a significant other. So there's this pursuit of the thin ideal, or this influx of diet culture. So there's restriction and dieting. With that comes deprivation and hunger. Next comes tension, anxiety, cravings. I call it, like that. I was going to use the word bitchiness, and I'm going to use it anyway. Frustration. And you'll see a lightning bolt there. That lightning bolt means something happens. An external trigger comes in. The external trigger could be anything. It could be a fight with a spouse. It could be a comment from a coworker. It could be that you got a bad grade on a test. It could be that you saw a picture on the internet of you. Anything that just turns your brain around a little bit, and you try to numb because there's pain. Pain, there's shame, there's guilt. You don't want to feel it, so you turn to food to binge or numb. Numbing behaviors are a lot. There are a lot of different numbing behaviors. And food is one of the easiest ones to turn to. And the reason it works is because when you eat, you actually put your body into the parasympathetic nervous system. It goes, rest and digest. It has to relax and rest for a little bit in order to digest the food. And if there's high sugar foods or high salt foods, there's a kick to the brain where the serotonin kicks in a little bit, and there's this joyful feeling that also, a bright light that kind of happens in the brain. So it's no wonder, we turn to food. But then as soon as the binge is over, self-hatred, guilt, shame, I can't believe I did that again. Why am I always doing that? Failure, feelings of unworthiness, which trigger you right back into the cycle. Pursuit of thin ideal, diet culture, society, whatever it is that pulls you right back into that cycle. So these are things that I want you to really pause and understand why it is that we continue to turn towards dieting to try to do something right, even though the body is responding in an opposite way. And why is it so hard to pull away from this cycle, this dieting cycle? And I'll tell you, the reason is because it's everywhere. Everywhere you look. You see it on TV, you see it when you're reading a magazine, you see it in ads, right? All the different types of things that are out there right now. And being in this industry for as long as I have been, I have not only tried a lot of them, but I've seen even more over the last 5 years, there's even more things out there, and they're utilizing them as lifestyle changes. But let's go back to the hand and the food in the hand. If I'm going to take out all meat and go vegetarian as a lifestyle change, but I love meat, there might be a time that there's something that happens that I'm like, I just want a steak because it tastes good and I love it and my body's craving it because the body might need it. So it's everywhere you look. You can't escape it even just going out to dinner or sitting at a coffee shop. Time and time again, I sit at a coffee shop and I hear behind me people yapping about what diet they're on. Everywhere you go, it's everywhere, especially this time of year. You cannot escape it. and it can be overwhelming. So it is no wonder when you're standing in the grocery line, if you're not feeling good about yourself and you see a magazine with the next best thing, why wouldn't your eyes go to it? And why wouldn't you want to? Well, maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the golden ticket, right? Maybe that's the one that will work for me. So I hope that this information is giving you something to kind of think about is why this dieting doesn't work. Our body does not want to be in a place of deprivation. Even if you are living in a larger body, it is the dieting history that has helped put you there. There are also medical reasons that might have put you there. There are also environmental reasons that might have put you there. There are also genetic reasons that might have put you there. And we have to really take a look at all of it, not just, I should be thin because thin is better, thin is successful, thin is happy. So here we enter into intuitive eating. And I have always stated that this space has really saved my life. Beginning to listen to your body. And I love this picture, listen to your body, it's smarter than you. So we're going to dive into, and I'm going to share a little bit about this intuitive eating process. So it starts here. This is called, they have 5 stages through intuitive eating. This is hitting diet rock bottom. And it took me to 50 to hit dieting rock bottom. So it took me a long time. And here are just some of the things. You're talking poorly about yourself. I should eat this. I shouldn't eat that. The attempts to lose weight haven't worked, or they've worked in the short term, but then you gain the weight back. You're tired of placing or holding on to a value due to the number on the scale, like I talked about earlier. You're worried or thinking about food all the time. Your body image is negative. You don't like the way you look and feel in your body. And you're just tired of it. This is hitting dieting rock bottom. I just don't want to do this anymore. So this is where it starts. And I'm going to share with you information about a few of these steps or phases of intuitive eating. And intuitive eating actually has 10 points that they talk about through the intuitive eating journey. And I'm going to touch on really kind of some of the hardcore ones so you have an idea of what this is all about. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is hunger and fullness. So this is, I want you to think about as a baby, when you're a baby, you cry. A baby would cry when they're hungry. And the mother would feed them, and then they would push away from the nipple or the bottle because they're done. Like they pull away. Their body knows they're full. What happens to many of us early is that mothers were told babies should eat every 3 hours or babies should eat every 4 hours. And they put you on a schedule, which means, and they should eat 3 ounces or 4 ounces, whatever the particular amount was at the time. So you would feed the child, and then at 2.5 hours, the child will start to cry because they were physiologically hungry. And the mother would say, well, it's not 3 hours yet. So they would do other things for the baby to soothe them until the 3-hour hit or the 4-hour hit. And then they would feed them. So already the baby was disconnecting the physiological hunger feelings with being fed and eating. And as children grow up, children are given food for lots of different reasons. A skinned knee to stay quiet in the grocery store, as a reward for good behavior. As a punishment, food is taken away. So there's other tie-ins to food. So it's no wonder that we've kind of been disconnected with our own physiological hunger and our own understanding of when we're full. Because if we're being offered, even if it's just after lunch and I'm riding my bike outside and I fall and I skin my knee and my mom says, oh, here, have an ice cream. It'll make you feel better. All of a sudden, I'm linking ice cream to making me feel better. It has nothing to do with being hungry. Or I could be really full, but I'm probably going to eat the ice cream anyway. So there's a disconnection there. The other disconnection I want to share with you is this. You think about a toddler, it's 5 o'clock, dinner's at 6, and they're saying, Mommy, I'm hungry, pulling on, their shirt. Mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy, I'm hungry. Um, I don't want you to spoil your dinner. Dinner's in an hour, hold off. Disconnection from hunger. The child then gets to the table, eats part of the dinner, is full, doesn't want to eat anymore. Mother or father says, finish your plate. Disconnection to fullness. So we want to begin this journey back to ourselves. What does hunger feel like? What does being full feel like? What's comfortable hunger for me? It's going to be different for you. What's comfortable fullness for me? It's going to be different than you. We're all individual. So it's about learning to trust our bodies and allowing our bodies to begin to trust us again too, especially if there's extensive diet history. So hunger and fullness is our understanding hunger and trusting our fullness is kind of this think about a foundation of intuitive eating, really beginning this part of the journey. Then there's satisfaction. Have you ever, this is the best way I can describe satisfaction, have you ever gone to a restaurant and sat down and looked at the menus? Because now, of course, all the menus have calories on them too, right? They have energy. What is their energy value? Calories. And you see all the calories, and automatically the brain goes, if you're on a diet, oh, I should eat this because it has low number of calories, or it's good for you, or whatever the reason is that I should eat this. But, ooh, I really want, that looks really good. Ooh, I wish I could have that. There's this kind of want of something else. Either the body's saying, hey, I would really like that. I need some chicken right now. That would taste really good. Or I really want a baked potato or whatever it is. And then the other side of you is like, no, you shouldn't eat that. You should have the salad because that's what I should have. If you choose the salad, and I know this has happened to me and it's happened to many of my clients, they eat the salad and go home and then they're foraging for food. What else can I eat? Because the salad, even though it may have taken care of their hunger, did not take care of their satisfaction. They were not satisfied with the meal, so they're going to find food afterwards. If they ate what they wanted, because this is an experiment that I do with my clients, eat what they want, they come home and they're not foraging for food because they're satisfied with the choice that they made. And so satisfaction is really a big part of the learning process of intuitive eating and understanding that I want to be satisfied with my choices of food. Emotions and food. Here are a list of some of the emotions that turn us towards food. Being lonely, being anxious, feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling angry, being bored, or being frustrated. And why do we turn to food? Again, going back to what I was talking about, it lightens up the brain a little bit and it makes us feel good and it gives us some relaxation. So it's no wonder. And so during the intuitive eating journey, what we do is we talk about emotions and what are other ways that we can work with emotions that may include food and they may not include food. It's kind of a combination of both. So those are some of the real, key points of the intuitive eating journey. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense to start just trusting the body and start living within our own bodies and listening to our own bodies. We are all uniquely different. No two of us are the same. If you're an identical twin, you have the same genes as somebody else. But then again, did you have the same experiences as your twin? Not necessarily. So there's going to be some differences there. So really starting to say, hey, only I know when I'm hungry. Only I know when I'm full. Only I know what I like. Only I know what feels good in my body. And that's what I want you to start to think about as you think about this transition from dieting, which we know that doesn't work, into this starting to learn to trust and listen to your body. So as you move into this intuitive eating journey, the stage 2 is like this, like just this learning. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel so good, but it also just you start to eat foods that you really do enjoy. This stage takes some time. It's making up for years and years of deprivation, negative self-talk, shame, and guilt. And so with the group that I just worked with in this, we had an intuitive eating group. And as we worked through our time together, they all started in this stage 1 and stage 2, working mostly in stage 1 with a little bit of this exploration stage 2, because realizing that diets don't work, having history of weight gain versus weight loss, and having to look in a different position or a different way, they started to look into this intuitive eating. So they were in this space of intuitive eating, this intuitive eating journey. But it's not just about eating and exercise and the calculations. That's what we've been told. Eating, exercise, that's how you lose weight. Eating, exercise, that's how you get transform your body. But there's more. That is not all that there is. And intuitive eating is only one part of what we have here at Shaping Perspectives, the URNF 5-step formula. So I want to share a little bit about this. I'm not going to go into it with much detail. Eating intuitively is what we were talking about today. Moving and playing with joy. Making movement a want to, not a have to or a should. Empowering your maximi, your positive voice. This, I think, you think about your own internal voice and the one that speaks up when you see something on the scale that you don't like, right? It lowers your self-esteem if you're not doing things the way that you are expected that you should be doing things. So we all have this critical voice. As you saw in the beginning, 91% of women talk negatively about their body at some point in time during the day. That's the same kind of thing, this maximi, this empowering your maximi positive voice. I call the maximi our positive, self-compassionate, kind, strong voice versus the mini-me, which is the critical voice. It's a big part of this whole game. Appreciate and accept your here and now body. This body, right here, right now, today's body, as you sit or as you stand, where you are right now, this is the body that you have today. You can think of it as, oh, well, when I get this way, then I'll be happy. Or you can say, this is the body I am in today. So I'm going to be happy, and then I'm going to start to work from here. This is a really big part of what we do here at Shaping Perspectives. Appreciate and accept your here and now body, because that can link to medicating with food. And it also can link to self-esteem issues and stress. And then lastly, the last step is engaging in self-care to decrease your stress levels. We know that stress increases cortisol, which holds on to weight. If we can't control stress levels, it's really, really hard to work with weight. So this is kind of our formula here at Shaping Perspectives. And if you think about the way that you've done things, this great definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Every year dieting, every spring dieting, every time you have a conflict with a friend, every time you talk negatively about yourself or can't find the clothes that you want to wear, they don't seem to fit, somebody says something to you and you start a diet. Oh, that's the next diet. Oh, that's the next. There's plenty of them to try. But if we have research that says 95% of the time it doesn't work, why do we keep going back? And it doesn't have to be this way. This is that, and I just talked about it, this when I, then I game. When I lose the weight, then I'll start doing that. Then I'll go to the gym, right? Because a lot of people don't go to the gym because they don't want to be seen at the gym because of the way they look. When I lose the weight, then I'll apply for that job, or then I'll go out to dinner with those people, or then I'll accept that invitation, or then I'll wear that dress, or then I'll go to the beach. The list is endless. But what happens is we miss out on life because you're waiting till when that happens. when we could be living life right here, right now, today. So what's next for you? You know, you can take this information and kind of move with it and go with it and see how it works for you. You can stay in the insanity circle because that's what's comfortable and that's what you're used to. You can understand that maybe intuitive eating is a place for you. Or you can also, which I'm going to share with you now, is an opportunity. And this is what this group just finished up. We had 6 months of an SOS community. It's a 6-month support and accountability intuitive eating group. Our next group starts Wednesday, February 6th, starts 7:15. It's an hour-long class. And let me share what this community is all about. It brings together women who have the same struggles, who have had the same experiences, and also some different ones, but they're all in this journey because they want to let go of dieting and they want to start becoming themselves. The mission here that we use here at Shaping Perspective is to love what is, right? Love what is right now, right here today. Live with more joy, have more joy in our life, and connect more deeply with ourselves and then with others. So kind of getting to know ourselves and really starting to take a walk into a journey where we're being able to enjoy food, enjoy movement, like ourselves the way we are, so that we can pursue our passions and so that we can make a difference in this world. Let me share what this whole group, how we do this group. We do this on Zoom, this platform that you're on right now. We come together as a group. You can see everybody's faces there, and we have this, it's like sitting in a classroom, and there's always a topic. So we move through the 10 steps of intuitive eating. There are activities that we do. There are things that we try together. There are discussions around what's working for people and what's not working. And there's acceptance, and there's non-judgment, and there's a safe space where you can talk about some of the things that you're struggling with when it comes to eating and food, which in the normal world is really not available to us at all. So we do these calls every other week. You get access to the call. So if you can't make it, you'll have a recording so you can actually stay in touch and make sure you hear what's happening with everybody. You hear the lesson of the day, and you also hear what kind of the work is for the next couple of weeks. And then we all check in together with check-ins and accountability, so that there is an email that you'll get that kind of keeps you in touch and keeps you moving forward, because it's easy to be in a class or a group class and learn something and then walk away and forget it. So this is afterwards, we stay in touch. The whole group stays in touch. This is what's happening for me. This is what's happening for me. This is what I enjoyed. Oh, I didn't get to that one. Thanks for the reminder. So we check in. We also include our comprehensive guide, You Are Enough. This is the 5 steps that I just talked about, Guide to Peace with Food, Eating, Weight, and Body Image. And this is part of it's interwoven in between all of our sessions. And a membership to our private online membership to the Diet Free Sisterhood. There's weekly journaling prompts in there, and there's support and connection and inspiration with the group of people and women that are all struggling and working through and succeeding, working through the same things. Also, we have this Kitchen Rescue Pack, Calorie Counting Debunked. It's a great infographic of a 3-part guide of learning how to create meals that will actually work for you. It's a part of our Precision Nutrition, which is our kind of our baseline, underlying nutritional education of our program. And also, quickly, also another bonus is 30 days of our complimentary free trial of Self-Talk Plus, which is changing our inner programming. Because without starting to change our inner programming, the same thoughts come in over and over again. So we've got to utilize a tool. So our Self-Talk Plus is a tool that we utilize. So that's included as well in this. So this is an SOS participant, Callie, and because they just ended, I'm going to use this little testimonial from her. The holidays were so much calmer this year. There were so many things I could have stressed out about, and I did not. And for sure, what I was going to eat, was not even on the short list of things I might have contemplated. Being enough, just like I am, whether in what I'm trying to accomplish, or whether I should impress, or what someone might think about what I put on my plate. Those are all challenges I've made because of the work I've done with you all. So this is not about me at all, really. It is because I kind of guide it, but this group becomes this safe haven, this wonderful community of people. And everybody works together. I had another woman from the SOS just tell me that it was the first Christmas she didn't white knuckle her way through the holidays, that she was able to actually enjoy people, experiences, and food because she wasn't thinking about, what are people thinking about me? What should I wear? What should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? I shouldn't go. I should go. So there's so much growth that's happened within this group. So if you think, pause for a second, these are the stages 4 and 5 of intuitive eating. And I want you to think about the fact that there were 12 people. I had 2 different groups, 12 people in these groups. Every single one of them went from stage 1 and 2 into stage 3, 4, 5. A little bit in 3, but mostly 4, and a little bit in 5. And these are some of the things. Just imagine not obsessing over food any longer, beginning to have this sense of trust in your body, understanding that when you're hungry, you have permission to eat. It's okay to eat. Food is not the enemy anymore. It's not your secret lover anymore. It helps sustain you. It gives you fuel. It gives you energy. It can also connect you with other people. And you choose the things that you like to eat, and you trust your body's ability to just know what it needs and what it wants. This is what this particular SOS group does. It's a 6-month support group that moves you through the stages of intuitive eating, releasing dieting forever and beginning to trust you. Here's another intuitive eating client. Best news, I don't appear to be obsessed with sweets all the time anymore. It's strange and fabulous. In the past, I spent all this time and energy, emotional energy, we talked about that, thoughts in your head, planning, eating, and feeling bad about myself. No wonder I have so much energy. From Eliza. So I would love if you would become a part of our SOS community, it's called Support Over Struggle, SOS, right? It's $147 a month for 6 months. And it includes the virtual group coaching, the lessons and the recordings. The lessons come with activities, so you're working through this all the way through. Email check-ins, membership to the Diet Free Sisterhood, and that life-changing guide as well, and you'll get the calories debunked. Another couple spaces for a second. These are always hard for me to read, but I think they're important. This safe space that I talked about, where one can openly share any struggle with eating movement, coping with stress, and emotional management. It's so clear to me and other women who have worked with Anne that she is deeply committed to supporting women with shaping a new, more positive perspective of themselves and encouraging healthier ways of self-care. Shaping Perspectives, the name of the company, is just that. Let's shape our perspective on ourselves, on food, on eating, on exercise, on our bodies, on all of it. That's what we do here. Working with her has been life-changing. She has taught me that I can be joyful in my body right now, just as it is. I love that. If you need help and support with eating, fitness, stress management, or body image issues, contact her now. Abby's, so these are some other clients of mine that have done, some of them in an SOS, or they've come for VIPs, or they're individual clients. So sharing just a little bit of what we do here. So, is this something that's for you? Is this a step that you'd like to take? If so, you'll get the recording anyway, and you'll get this information, and we'll share some more of this information. So you can go over to shapingperspectives.com. It's the support over a struggle community, or you can email me with questions. Diets always start the next day. Thankfully, intuitive eating can start with your next bite. Starting today, is it time for a change? Are you done running, riding the dieting hamster wheel and working through that definition of insanity? So just want to offer up if there are any questions. If you have any questions, we believe that anything is possible and success is inevitable. So I would love to have you join us on our next journey of SOS and begin to love what is, live with joy, and connect more deeply with yourself and others. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and see if there are any questions. Doesn't look like anything's coming in. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate spending some time here with me. And I hope that you have a fabulous day. And I hope you'll join us on our next SOS Support Over Struggle adventure. Thank you very much.